Okay, I've had this for a while, and what do I think of the Yaesu FTM-510DR ASP? Love it. I'm enjoying it. I love the interface. It's easy. Like I played with so many different radios, ICOM, Anytone, TID Radio, so forth, and other brands I can't even remember. It's not perfect, but it's excellent interface. And a lot of people are now using this as a standard for any other radio. So, okay, let me stop the scan there for a moment, and then I'm going to do another click, take me to this menu. I like this menu. It's all programmable except for the letters that are in blue. You can put in settings that you use the most, and every once in a while you'll end up changing them around because certain functions you no longer need because you have everything set up the way you want. I was looking at the FT5DR, the handheld I'm considering. I like the menu set up in this. In fact, it gave me an idea how one could even improve. It'd be nice if they had something similar like that where there'll be a second option where all the settings of 120 or so are broken up in groups. And the list technically is already broken up in group, so it's just a matter of a bit of a reprogramming, and you can have that feature. Okay, I'm just going to do a long press and show you the list. Notice the categories option as you scroll. SD card, APRS, okay? And if I keep on going, data, wire X, GM, digital scan, oops, signaling, audio, config, memory, receive, transmit. Okay, I'm going back and forth there, sorry. Display. I guess the point I'm making is it's already in categories. So if I was to hit the long press on a function, instead of getting a list of 120, if there was a window with the categories already, and if I want APRS, then I would select APRS. You know, I think it would be a feature that will be liked by many. What do you think, Yaesu? Feel free to add that. No payment required. Okay, what do you think? As you're aware, I've been looking at other Yaesu line, like the FT-X1 and a few other brands, or models, I should say. And I noticed there was one common thread of complaints. People were being critical with the interface, in particular with the FT1X. Being a new user, you know, I would not probably notice it. However, now that I have the FTM-510P, and if I was to go get an FTX1, I probably would join the crowd and start complaining because it's backwards. The interface on the 510, it's not perfect, but it's close. It's a good standard. It's a good standard. I think what I suspect is a lot of the people who are complaining, they have previous models, like they have the same radio I'm looking at, or the I think it was the something FT10 or whatever, an older model, and they go to the FTX1 and they're upset with the interface. They think it's backwards. Anyways, I thought I'd throw that in. I think it'd be a good idea. Now, there was another area which I would not be familiar with. It has to do with the knob, the large knob on the FTX1. I don't know if there's a clicking motion or there's something about it that they have been complaining. Not having one or being familiar with it, I can't make a judgment on it. I've heard some say, "Wow, the button's so big. Maybe they could have added a few more features." And I think a couple of other areas was some of the buttons that they would push wouldn't work, but it would work on the menu item on the display. So, anyways, obviously it's not an issue not to buy, and it looks like maybe a firmware update could fix this. So let's go back to this radio, which I'm impressed with it. Okay, I think I may have found a slight quirk. Okay, I'm going to put auto on. I'm going to read setup. This setup has my SDX on auto. Should restart. You hear that noise? That only happens when I have auto A on. In order to get it to work properly, again, I have to hold it down, then put it on. Just a minor quirk. If you come across that, it's because your auto A is on. Whether that's normal or an oversight, I don't know. You can, for example, set it so that it doesn't save as auto A, but I like it on all the time. So it only happens when you do a read, and I believe a read. Or just a minute, let me think for a minute. Whether it be a read or a write, if it causes the radio to restart, then you'll get that noise. There is a scenario where it'll do some functions like that, but it doesn't do a restart. So if it does a restart, you'll get that blurp noise, as if the auto A is turned off, even though it's showing. So you turn it off and on. Okay. Okay, I thought I'd mention there, you see those two screws? If you loosen them, you can tilt the head up and down. And if you need a swivel option, apparently there is an optional unit where you can get from Yaesu, and not only will you be able to tip up and down, but you also can swivel it left and right. For me, the way it is set up was perfect, so I didn't need the swivel. But you know, if you're using on a desk, maybe it's up high, you can have it not swivel down, but tilt downwards. Just how I mentioned, it's kind of handy. I was asked if I could show how to import a CSV file when you don't have a cable to connect directly to the radio, but you do have a laptop, either a Mac or Windows 10 or 11, doesn't matter, works the same. And people have been telling me that they can't seem to import anything or even open a file, and which I understand, because there is some propriety stuff going on. I guess maybe Yaesu is trying to figure out how to avoid people breaking their radios. I know with ICOM, I have never read or heard anyone breaking any ICOM radio. And But I find a little bit different with the Yaesu. There's a lot of people mentioning that, and that happening not only any particular model, but it seems to be a general issue. So maybe this is Yaesu's way of minimizing that. I don't know. Okay, the question is, how do we do it? I experienced the same thing, no cable. I didn't even initially have a radio to test it. So once I got the radio, life became much easier. I did manage to do it, but I had to do a lot of workarounds and things of that sort. And I wouldn't recommend you to go through that trouble. If you have the radio, you have an SD card, we'll start with that. First thing you need to do is format your SD card. If you hit a long press on your function key, which is this one right here, okay, and then scroll down to 109, you have the format, follow the prompts. Once you've formatted it, then you want to go back and go to 107. And you have a backup option, write to SD card. Select the SD card. I would recommend save all, even though your radio is empty, it doesn't matter. Save all, save memory, and then save setup. Once you have that done, you're going to pop out your SD card, which is on the side right here, and bring it over to your laptop computer. And let me switch over to laptop. I'm using the MacBook Pro. 2025 and 2014 makes no difference. I have Windows 10 on one and Windows 11 on the other one. The one I'm going to use, Windows 11, I'm using UTM. It doesn't matter. It works whatever system. Okay, let's switch over. Okay, with your SD card mounted, this is the way it will look. Make a clone or a copy of it. So basically, you want the folder for it to look identical. So you're going to clone it. Save it in your document folder, wherever you save most of your stuff. You just put it there. Okay, once you have done that, I'm going to go to my setup right here. Same thing. Okay, next step. Okay, go to Windows 10, 11, whichever one you're using. I'm doing this through UTM, free software. And when you first open up, you'll have a window that's basically empty. It's a default setting. One memory channel. No problem. So, when you first go to it, you notice you don't have no options. You do have an import. Okay, I imported a file. If you import a file from Repeater Book, it should work normally. However, I wouldn't recommend trying to save this, because you still don't have the option to save the file. And even when you attempt to export it, you're going to run into problems. Okay, here's another area that has caused people difficulties. You may find online a number, the Yaesu.uk. There was a demo of the 510DE or the 500DE. I think it was a 500DE. And he mentioned, yeah, you can scan all the way to 1 gigahertz. Maybe that's the case with the 500, I don't know. But with the 510 DR, 550 I think is the highest. So if you have any frequencies that are like say 600 megahertz or anything over 550, you'll get an error. It won't load anything. It'll just stop and quit, and you have nothing on your screen. So be sure you eliminate any frequencies that the radio doesn't support. If you have some 6 meter frequencies, it will give you an error and you will import nothing. And even some to the 220, there's limitation there. But I had one, I think 220, which was within band, but for some reason it didn't like it. However, if I entered it manually in the actual program, it took. When I exported and saved, it was identical to what I was trying to put in. So it could be just a little quirk in some frequencies. So that's one thing I would look at any frequencies that are not the usual transmission frequencies. You can add those later once you have it set up the way you want. If most of your channels are pretty well organized the way you want it, there is a certain amount of organization you can do when you download it from the repeater book. However, maybe there's a dozen channels that you want to insert, and you can do it. It's just a matter of going in and selecting insert channel, and then a blank channel will appear wherever you've selected, highlighted the spot. You can then type in the frequencies, whatever information it is. However, if you have maybe like 40 or 50 that you want to add, perhaps you've downloaded all of one province or one state, and then you want another province or state to add to it. This is where it can become a challenge, because there is a renumbering scheme. If the numbers are the same from the first batch, it'll end up rewriting over each other, and so you won't get what you want. You could physically open the CSV file and enter the changes in the number so that it's sequential wherever you want it. In my case, I use a database file maker. It does the renumbering for me automatically, so it's quicker, which is why I have 600-700 channels. To explain how to do it, FileMaker Pro, it's a commercial program, very expensive to buy. I've had it for years because I used it for my own business, and so it was handy for me to do it. You can do something similar in a spreadsheet. It will give you more capabilities than perhaps this ADMS program. I have to say it works way better than the Anytone CPS programs. So you can do the copy and paste, you can do the insert and the channels. Definitely much better. It's not beta. Okay. Even if you had a saved file, maybe someone gave you a copy or whatever, right? You can't open it. It doesn't give you that option. You do have an option of import, and you may have created one, or someone may have given you a copy. It may and may not work. There is some encoding, I guess, if you want to call that, in the CSV file that has nothing to do with the fields. But if it doesn't see that particular information, it'll give you an error. I'll give you an example. import error. Okay. If you go to Repeater Book and download their file, CSV file, they have it properly encoded. So if I was to do an import, let me see if I have one that's, yeah, that one came straight from Repeater Book. Okay. Once that happens, it's great, but you still can't save, you can't open anything. So that's not much good, is it? So I find if you go to communication and you say get data all, go to your clone copy, scroll down till you get to backup, and this is your data. Hit open, complete. This is what I saved last time. Now you're able to save and make copies. And then you could export so that it works properly. And you could also repeat that just to be sure you have everything properly entered. You can import memory that you saved or any setup, but usually all takes care of it. And these are areas, if you have not already played and reconfigured and set it up according to the way you want it, you will need to do these things. But generally speaking, that's the way to do it. You need to, first of all, format your drive, do a save or backup, whatever, and then once you've done that, get the data from all, and then now you're able to open and save files. It's just a sequence that you have to do. This happens to be my setup that I currently have on my radio. And then you have your settings, which you can go in, make whatever changes. You can do all this within the radio itself. Once you got your channels all arranged, whatever you want. In fact, even if you're not fully finished, you can work on it later on. But in the meantime, you can use what you got. And you go to communications, you have get data from the radio or send data to the radio. So be careful you select the right one. If you wanting to write to the radio and you select get, well, you're going to get erased on what you worked on. So select send data, and you will be getting a dialog telling your communication cable is connected. You press the function key for 1 second or longer, and the setup menu will be displayed, and select 120. So scroll down to 120 where it says Other, and press Function key. Select OK, and press Function key. Now it's going to be waiting. You'll see a message saying waiting. So then you click OK, and it will write. If for some reason you hit OK here before you hit OK on the radio, you'll get an error or timeout. So whatever steps you took, that happens. Just do the opposite. Okay. And that also applies for getting when later on, you know, while you're using radio, you may have added a few channels, modified it, changed some settings since this one was created. Well, instead of repeating the same effort, just do a read from the radio. Again, it's going to ask for your communication cable to be connected. You press the function key for 1 second or longer, and the setup menu will be displayed. This time, select 119, Other, and press the function key. Then you click OK. Again, if you happen to click OK in this window before you did it in the radio, you'll get an error. Just do the opposite of whatever you did. No harm is caused by that incorrect settings there. Okay. You also may want to do backups, especially after you read from the radio and you like what you have. You can go in and then send data to memory and to setup to your cloned SD card that you have on your computer. You have a backup in case you accidentally erase what you have on your radio. You can just copy it over. I've done that myself already. Okay. Later on, I may make a video to perhaps find a workaround solution, I guess. If you are a shortwave listener, you probably want lots of options of scanning. For myself, 2, maybe 3 groups is all I want. I've set it up in such a way that I have what you call a home scanning option, where just the frequencies when I'm in the city of Calgary, more or less staying within the city zone, that's my default scan system. I have the channels I want scanning. That's it. When I, for example, go off grid down south, southwest, into the Rockies, I have another file with the channels that are available, or repeaters that are available in that area, or the repeaters that I will be traveling through as I leave Calgary and head out south and southwest in the mountains, or way south. Separate. And then when I go north to the northwest, I have a file that handles all the frequencies or channels that I'll be coming across as I leave north from Calgary. So that's basically how I handle when I'm traveling that way. If down the road I end up taking a trip to Yukon or Alaska or Northwest Territory, yeah, I already have it on my computer. Excuse me, not computer, but yeah, I do have, it's already programmed in here, by the way. I have BC, I have Yukon, I have Northwest Territories, Manitoba, Saskatchewan. I know I'm not going to be going further east for a long time, so I didn't even bother putting Ontario, Quebec in there. But anyways, or into VO1 land, Newfoundland. It's all there. So it's just a matter of selecting, yes, I want to scan this repeater because I'm going to be traveling through this area. Make a list. By default, all the scanning option is turned off, because most of the channels I probably never want to scan. So this way I can use this and yet have all the other repeaters on my radio, and when I'm scanning, I'm not going to be scanning unwanted channels. I may go into details later, but I just kind of mentioning you can do that. There is a couple other possibilities. It gives me these 2 options right off the bat. Let me put scan stop. Memory all. Basically every channel, whether it be VHF, UHF, even if I had 220 or airband channels and I had put yes to scan, it will scan through all of it. Of course, I don't want to listen to the air bands, so I have that turned off for scanning. But yeah, that's what memory all will do if that's the way you set it up. There is another group which I like, memory group, and in my ADMS settings, there is an option called, maybe I should show this on the screen, but I'll just call it M group. Okay? It's a little tick box. It's another method of creating a scan, but only the ones that are ticked with the tick box, M group. And then for scan, I could say, yeah, I want to listen to this when I'm scanning. Now, I happen to have in that tick box repeaters that don't want to listen to because they're outside of the area I'm traveling. So I have the scan turned off, but they're still in my group. And of course, it only scans the one that I have said yes to. So this is what you're seeing. Most of them are digital or fusion. Let me stop. Okay. I do have some simplex. Okay. Some simplex, like the ones I use for testing here for YouTube, and simplex frequency. It's always good to have simplex frequency because no matter where you are, there may be traffic on there, or you may be asked, oh, QSY to 5.2. Okay, no matter what scan group I'm in. I said, no problem, 5.2, I'm there, all set up. Okay. And then these are the fusion repeaters that are available in Calgary. Yeah, just scroll through. There is one or two that have wire X on it, which I have to play. Like this one has wire X. It's a simplex, but I'm not able to pick it up yet with the indoor antenna. I may have to try it outside. And this is also a repeater. And I believe this is linked to an XLX D-Star. There. I'm connected. I haven't played with it. XLX WRN. And it's a repeater that's strong signal, so I can work with low power on this one. That's an area I haven't played with yet. I want to talk to a couple of people before I go in there because I don't want to be causing any disruption there at all until I know how all this functions. I may be only partially set up. Okay. Let me turn it off and then go back to memory. Okay, I thought I'd throw this bit of information. That's something, maybe in another video if there's enough questions and demands about it. But it's to illustrate what you can do, and that's your memory group. If you're really in the mood and you live by an airport, which I do, then I can go ahead and scan that band. I have probably 9 or 12 frequencies already programmed in the memory hill, but I have the scanning turned off, so I didn't want to be listening to it when I have memory all option turned on. So, but I can just do a band scan if I want to. It wouldn't take very long. Just a matter of hitting that and no memory. Okay. then I have to switch to VFO. There you go. Okay. So to do a bad scan, you got to switch to VFO. If I'm going to do through a memory, I got to turn on the scan. Okay. That one I believe is just some sort of carrier digital noise. So, and I believe I got it set for 5 seconds, I think, or for busy. I'm not sure now. I make changes on it often enough. Okay. It's a disadvantage having an indoor antenna when you want to do a scan like that. Okay, let's go back. And there is one more, other, which would be the 220 band. So what do I have? Oh yeah, I have a few 220. Let me see. Does it scan? Yes, it does. Okay. So you do have several options of scanning. It doesn't have bands, band groups, or whatever you want to call it. I believe the FT5 does, 1020 or whatever. I think it has quite a bit of banks. But this one doesn't. But there are a few options. And the worst scenario, you can actually create unique files that you can import the memories or even import the whole all settings. So this way, you know your settings are consistent with the area that you're traveling. Okay, I'm going to stop you. I think I'm over my time period again. I talk too much, don't I? Anyways, if you haven't done so, it would be appreciated. Please subscribe. Thumbs up would be nice. And any feedback, comments, corrections, or any ideas that you want to express, feel free to do so in the comments, and I will reply as soon as possible. Until then, have a nice day, and take care. If you haven't done so, it would be appreciated. Please subscribe, and thank you for watching. Have a nice day.